Hey folks, thanks for stopping by and welcome back to my YouTube channel Czechoslovakgunstories. My name is Kuba and in today's episode we are gonna have a look at two Czechoslovak firearms designers, brothers Josef and František Koucký, who are responsible for some of the best designs that were ever created in the former Czechoslovakia. Some of them even may be in your vault, like our beloved CZ75. So stick around and find out. The Koucký brothers are the best example of the Czechoslovak firearms design. These two extremely talented designers are responsible for dozens of firearms of all kinds, from sporting pistols in 22 long rifle cartridge all the way to a 30mm automatic anti-aircraft cannon. The interesting phenomenon of the Czechoslovak firearms design is that in many cases the most prolific designs were put together by the brothers. We are discussing Koucký brothers, but we also have a very successful designers Jan Kratochvíl and his brother Miroslav Kratochvíl, the authors of 3 service firearms of the Czechoslovak Armed Forces, and also Václav Holek, the author of our beloved ZB26 and ZB37 machine guns, had brothers, František and Emanuel, both working as firearms designers. As if it was some sort of the Czechoslovak tradition in this profession, right? Anyway, let's get back to Koucký brothers. The older brother, Josef, was born in 1904, followed by František in 1907. Both brothers graduated from mechanical engineering and immediately became interested in firearms. Josef spent 2 years between 1928 and 1930 at Janeček Arms Factory. This company was very briefly, before it focused on motorcycle production, interested in transforming the World War I Austrian Schwarzlose 1907 heavy machine guns from 8x50 Mannlicher to 7.92 Mauser, which was at that time standard Czechoslovak service cartridge. The resulting machine guns were marked as Heavy Machine Gun Vzor 24. František, in the meantime, worked for Československá zbrojovka, later known as Zbrojovka Brno, at Firearms Development Branch. Josef started to work for Československá zbrojovka in 1930. The 1930s Great Depression slowed down their career, but after that Josef became a chief designer of the Firearms Development Branch. His first task was to work on a rifle for shooting at armored targets in 1936. He was not working alone on this task, however, as it is with most firearms designs, there were always other people taking part, consulting, giving some valuable insight, and so on. The consultants in this case were Emanuel Holek and his brother František Holek. Here we once again bumped into the Czechoslovak firearms design brotherhood thing. Before we start with a summary of their designs, it is necessary to explain the markings of their guns. Typically, it begins with Z for Zbrojovka, then K for Koucký, and in post-war period also by third letter standing for the type of the gun. P for pistole, pistol in English, M for malorážka, which is typically a 22 long rifle or rimfire gun, K for kulovnice, which is rifle, typically hunting one, but also military, and many others. So that's for the first 3 letters, and then there was 3-digit code where the first 2 numbers meant the year of the design and the third letter stood for the variant of the prototype. So you have ZKM 451, which stands for Zbrojovka Koucký Malorážka. 45 is the year of the model pattern, and 1 is the number of the model or of the prototype. Then you have ZKM 452, which is a similar rifle, but the 2 at the end means that this gun was redesigned for export. Prior to the Nazi occupation of Czechoslovakia began in 1939, the Koucký brothers managed to create a whole series of semi-automatic gas piston-operated rifles. Here we are talking about ZK371, 373 and 381. ZK381 was even tested in summer of 1938 in Soviet Union. Later model ZK ZK391 was tested and approved to be fully reliable and ready to enter a military service. That was, however, thwarted by the Nazi occupation. During the Nazi occupation, they created a successful anti-tank rifle Vzor 41 in 7.92 by 94 mm. That was adopted by German armed forces as Panzerbüchse model SS41T / M.PZB41T, along with its bigger sibling, Model 41 in 15 mm. After that, they also created an automatic carbine ZK412 and belt-fed compact machine gun ZK413, chambered in an experimental 8mm rapid cartridge. In terms of semi-automatic rifles, the pinnacle of their cooperation was ZK420. That was after the war between 1947 and 1949, presented in over 15 countries, including the Great Britain, Sweden, Denmark or Switzerland. Allegedly, the rifle was even presented to John C. Garand, who acknowledged the overall design and also mentioned that some of the elements and original solution never came to his mind when he was working on his rifle. ZKM420 was later simplified and chambered for 7.5mm intermediate cartridge. Apart from rifles, the two brothers were also very active in the submachine gun field. The pre-World War II period brought several models like ZK374 and later more famous ZK383, including versions 383H and 383P. During the occupation, they also developed ZK403 submachine gun. The best time for submachine gun designs came shortly after the World War II, when the Czechoslovak Ministry of Defense asked for a new pattern of submachine gun for military use. The point was to get a unified submachine gun for all parts of military, including special forces, paratroopers, crewmen, and so on. The first notable result of their invention was ZK466, that had a folding stock and also folding magwell, making an extremely compact package for all sorts of armed forces. Okay guys, now that we are talking about ZK466, I was wondering, if you take a closer look at the gun, does it remind you of something? Something French maybe? Oh yeah, you're right. The MAT 49 submachine gun, the mighty French submachine gun from Indochina War. Well, I was wondering if the gun is so similar to ZK466, if there is maybe some link between them, some inspiration or something. I was trying to find some information in my resources, and I found out that actually very shortly after the World War II, the French government asked the Czechoslovak government to share blueprints and documentation for another submachine gun designed by Koucký brothers, and that was ZK383P. As you know from the video, it had one very important feature, and it was a folding magwell. So, since the French government was so interested in the firearm, I believe that the impulse to introduce the folding magwell on their firearm may come from the Koucký design. So that's for inspiration between the Koucký design and the MAT 49. But now let's get back to some other beautiful stuff. There was, however, a huge competition, with many other designers sending their proposals to the trials, and one of them, Miroslav Šáda, sent an experimental submachine gun known as H/P with a magazine in a pistol grip, innovative telescopic bolt, and center of mass in the middle of the gun, which made an immense impression to the assessment commission of the ministry. They asked the remaining designers to send a proposal of their own based on this concept, which in case of Koucký brothers resulted into ZK476. Unfortunately, it lost the trials to the Jaroslav Holeček's design, later known as VZ23, 24, 25 and 26. But if you have a look at ZK476, and focus on its design features and details, you can be very sure where Uzziel Gal got his inspiration for what is one of the most popular submachine guns of all times. By the way, there's gonna be a video about this particular topic later, so please make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss this video. It will be very interesting. Submachine guns were not the only automatic weapon the Koucký brothers worked on at that time though. They also presented several intermediate cartridge machine guns like ZK475, ZK481 and ZK520. They were going also the heavier way than handheld firearms, and during the occupation designed the ZK414/ZB303BR, which was a 30mm automatic cannon that was supposed to be used as an anti-aircraft weapon for German submarines. This gun, however, was not accepted by the end of the war, and in post-war period was offered for export by the Czechoslovak government. Another example of heavy weaponry was the series of post-war heavy machine guns ZK477, ZK483 and ZK496. What I find extremely interesting and showing how talented and dedicated to their work Koucký brothers were is the way they were able to work on completely different types of firearms at once. While they were working on the previously mentioned heavy machine guns, they also worked on hunting rifles and especially sporting rifles and handguns. Their 22 long rifle pistols ZKP501, ZKP521 and ZKP541 were very successful, and the top of the line was the ZKR551 revolver. This is an interesting gun because it not only helped the Czechoslovak shooters win many competitions, including the golden medal from 1958 World Championship in Moscow, but it also won the golden medal for its design at Expo 1958 in Brussels. In terms of rimfire rifles, the most successful were ZKM451, also known as Brno Model 1, ZKM452, ZKM456 with heavy target barrel used extensively by the Czechoslovak sport shooters, including kid shooters, but also ZKM561 and ZKM611. Regarding hunting rifles, we can mention the series ZKK600, ZKK601 and ZKK602. The two brothers retired in the mid-1960s. Josef in 1964, followed by František in 1967. Both, however, could not withstand the boredom of the life of the firearms designers on a pension and worked as part-timers for Československá zbrojovka, especially for Uherský Brod branch. Josef worked there until 1985, when in his 81 years retired completely. He died in 1989. His brother František, however, created his arguably most important design in the first half of 1970s in the Uherský Brod branch. As a part-time designer on pension, he created one of the most influential pistol designs of all time, the legendary CZ75. František retired completely in 1980s, and he died in 1994. Okay guys, so that's it for Koucký brothers. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something new. If you did, please consider subscribing, don't forget to hit the bell button. Also please like the video, and if you have any questions, remarks, anything you would like to share with me, the comment section is there for you. And so that's it, until next time!